All right, let's do it. So hopefully it's smooth. I don't do a whole like speaking, so you have to bear with me. I'm usually the nerd behind the computer, like so. Yeah, off to a good start. We're talking about Meteor. Everybody knows that. Who's heard of Meteor? Most of you. Anybody dabbled with it at all? No. All right, cool. So at least it'll be pretty fresh material for everybody. So I'm Gavin at Geek for Brains on Twitter. Sean
at Nerdburn on Twitter.
You can follow us for boring tweets.
And stuff about Meteor.
So what we're going to cover tonight is obviously what is Meteor, the templates and assets, which is HTML and CSS, reactive data sources, what the hell that is, Iron Router and other packages, security and scaling, and then obviously taking your program live on your or Road actually. So what is Meteor? It's an open source platform for creating web and mobile apps in pure JavaScript. So that's front end and back end. Blurs lines between client and server, and originally started as a YC project, which I didn't know until I actually started digging into it a little bit more, and has received over $11 million in funding, which is pretty awesome. So they're actually pretty dedicated to make, I think it's called like the Meteor Foundation or something like that. But they actually have a full corporation that is funding it and pushing development forward, which is pretty awesome. This year, or the end of 2014, they actually hit 1.0. So up to this point, it's all been kind of like beta fun around this stage, but now it's like effectively 1.0 stable software to use. So the first thing, we'll get into templates. I'll let Sean take off on that.
So just a heads up, we're going to talk a little bit about the concepts, like a few slides, and then Gavin will jump into some demos. So if we start to lose you with all the talking, just like hang on, it'll get more fun. So templates in media, they're just HTML segments. Like they're not, you don't have to create a .html file or anything. You can put all your HTML in one file if you want. You just open the template tag, close template tag, put your HTML in between, and give an example on the next slide. All HTML is compiled and sent to the browser, which means that in a traditional web application, even a single page app, I'm going to step back. In a traditional web application, you make a request, finds an HTML page, sends that HTML page to you. Everything is compiled and concatenated ahead of time and sent to the browser all at once. So there's no requests to get HTML. You can access and load templates by their names. You go template, open template tag, name equals your mom, some HTML, close template tag, and then you can use that name throughout. Templates can have JavaScript attached to them. So the JavaScript that you write in Meteor is bound to a template scope. Create a template, you put some HTML in it, you attach some JavaScript to that specific little HTML tidbit. Very similar to maybe what React is doing right now, or a controller scope in Angular. All your HTML can be in one file or many files. Meteor doesn't care about file names, it doesn't care about file names. It doesn't care about directories except for a few exceptions. So you can structure your Meteor project any way you want.
Yeah, you could literally write the whole thing in one file if you really wanted to. Okay, next slide. Oh, there's your example.
So here's an example of a template. Just open the can everyone see okay? The template, give it a name, put some HTML in it, close the template. So these would be two templates in one file. It's just plain old vanilla HTML in the middle. You don't have to do any funny stuff like Angular. Yeah. Next slide.
That's cool. And to be clear, like what you're looking at could just be like example.html, and that would be the contents of it.
Yeah. So here's an example of connecting some JavaScript to a template. So somewhere in your project, you create this template named bar, and then this is some Meteor code right here. So you go template name, whatever you stick in there, .events, and then with log events. So click, key press, or key up, key down, submit.
Under the core, it's actually jQuery. So anything jQuery does, that's what you would get.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then you attach a function to the pic. So there you go. You click that button. It says, hee, that tickles. And,
don't forget your semicolons.
Brandon.
I had a little footnote for you.
Oh, sorry. I was doing. Yeah, it's nice.
a little bit back history. When Brandon and I worked together, we constantly fought about putting semicolons in a script. So.
Dude, it's sacrilege. I still stand to that.
So your assets, your static assets, CSS is also concatenated in the browser. So one weird thing for me, as a front-end developer for many years, coming into Meteor, like it doesn't care about my directory structure. It doesn't, you don't have to reference CSS or JavaScript files anywhere. You literally just put them in however you want. Meteor takes all the HTML, all the JavaScript, all the CSS, even less if you have it. You just add the less module and it'll pre-process your less. It just magically happens and shows up on the browser. Images are put in a specific public directory. So the public directory is one of those special cases where the directory name does matter, and you can put assets in there that you don't want to automatically load the Meteor way. And third-party libraries don't always play nice, probably because it's still early. Their auto-build tool sometimes will break some third-party JavaScript. So you can either stick it in public or you can put it in a compatibility directory, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah. That's for those types of libraries. That'd be something like for using like chart.js or jQuery or something, and you don't want it loaded into the Meteor namespace. You want it public, and that's the case if you'd use those. Okay. So reactive data sources is one of the key components of how Meteor works and does this update. So I'm going to go through it very briefly in a slide, and then I'm going to get into some code because it makes a hell of a lot more sense.
Are we moving too fast? Is this?
Is everybody kind of sort of getting it? It would make more sense if I bring up terminal and hack a bit, but okay, cool. So reactive data sources simply rerun functions when the underlying data changes. You're probably saying, what the hell does that mean? So I'll try to reword it a little bit. When you use a reactive data source in a JavaScript function, the data for the data for that source is modified from anywhere. The function is rerun automatically. So if like you have a JavaScript function, reactive data source, something modifies the data that that's connected to, that whole JavaScript function will rerun. So a demo, hopefully be a little less confusing. All right. Jump into terminal. Oh, to make a Meteor app, you have to have Meteor installed. I'll assume you've done that already, even if you haven't. So you just go Meteor, create, and the project name. So let's call this demo. Great. So now we can just go into demo and run Meteor.
Install Meteor is just npm install Meteor.
No, is it?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I thought it was a bash URL that you got to run. Anyway, so now it's running on localhost at port 3000. So if we open up Chrome,
Could be wrong.
there we go. Welcome to Meteor. So now if we click this button without the browser refreshing, that count goes up. Very fancy. Everybody sees that, all right? So let's have a look at what's going on there. Project. Demo. So Meteor automatically made, when you create a project, just some starter files. So we got CSS, which actually doesn't have anything in it, so rather useless. The HTML file, so you can see the head, the body. This include tag right here is basically just including, can you see me highlighting that stuff like that? Okay, cool. So that says basically include this template, which is hello, right? And that's going to load that there. Now, if we remember the template name hello, you can see in here we have some Meteor code. So this one is if Meteor is client, so if only on the browser side versus the server side code. I'll get into more detail there on when you'd want to run something on one or the other. Something where you want to make API calls with your private API keys on the client because everybody can.
So
that's
this is what
example.
Gavin meant by it blurs the lines between server and client. Like in Meteor, you just stick it all in there, you know?
Yeah, this is
Really like to separate your code from you.
yeah, you would. This is like a very simple example, but yeah, for the demo. And I mean that's like the default code that Meteor injects for you to get going. But the key components here is that session data source. So it's setting the counter to 0 as a default. We have a template helper here, so you can see hello is a template. If I go back to here, you can see that. And the button click me. So the event, when that button is clicked, is setting the counter to whatever it was before, +1. And this helper right here gets that counter variable. So you can see counter there, session get counter. And that's what this is.
So we should explain that the mustache tags, the counter item there, that is the helper. So if you go back to the JavaScript.
Okay. There we go.
So helpers are any data that are in a template. So template.hello.helpers, you're binding that word counter, which is the first function, to return the value of session. In Meteor, session is what's called a reactive data store. It's you will rerun those methods if anything changes.
Right, exactly. So that's what's happening here. Is I'm clicking that and incrementing it each time. So that's the reactive data source there. What it should do is if I open up another one, the session source is independent. So as like a regular client session, it doesn't go across both tabs. So if you can see these two, 15 and 16, it's obviously working independent.
Is there a way to share that session with you?
There is. That's exactly what I'm doing. One step ahead. Okay. Is everybody kind of sort of clear as mud on what's happening so far?
Any questions on this demo?
Yeah, you can interrupt me at any time.
Can the session stuff connect onto the server side bit there?
Server side, the session can't because that's related to the client side. So there's some stuff on the box that actually goes on every method. It shows like if it can be run on the client, server, or both. So there's certain methods that can be used one or the other or both.
So which one of these functions, if any, would be one of the reactive data sets, data sources?
So session actually sets it, so it's not the reactive data source. Counter is. So session get is using reactive data source. Session itself is a reactive data source. So when I modify it, when the button's clicked here, this whole counter function is rerun, and counter is output here.
Yeah, go into the browser and do in the CLI on the JavaScript console.
Okay. Yeah, because it's just JavaScript on the front end, I could literally go session dot set counter. No.
So that session variable, when that changes, the helper that's listening to the session automatically reads.
Yeah.
So do all the helpers essentially rerun?
Only ones that are using that reactive data source. So like if you had section or you had another active data source, only when that sources or that data is modified, then yes.
And it knows you're using this manager.
Yeah, so session and the database, like collection, are the two. Is there another? I think there's only 2 reactive data stores.
There's more, but they're kind of advanced.
Basically session and
like a database.
A database query are reactive in Meteor.
Does the database stuff translate over to the client side?
Yes. This is. We'll get to that.
That's what more advanced one. I'll quickly do a console log here, and you can see. Oh my God. Okay.
So the actual data source then is just like the name count, without feeding some arbitrary value to that.
Yes. Yeah. So if I rerun this now, you can see every time I click it, it's incrementing, and it's actually rerunning that function entirely.
That counter function. Yeah. The counter helper.
So now let's quickly do an example with if you wanted to have it cross-browser, like you were saying. So I'll have to turn it off here. We use what's called a collection, which is, does everybody know what MongoDB is? Okay, so we could call it hits.
Maybe I'll describe what you're doing quick.
Okay.
So one of the cool things about Meteor is that it creates a subset of your Mongo database on the client. So literally it's, we'll get into publish and subscribe and how that happens, but there's going to be a mini Mongo database on the client. and you can run queries against it, and those are considered a reactive data store. So anytime values change in your database, it automatically updates your database.
Know how the client side data is being held? Is it like a single blade copy, or is it like
Sorry, say that
publish
again.
and
I wasn't listening.
subscribe? So they're just storing it all in there, right? They're like using
The database, the client side database.
It's called Mini Mongo. It's like their own.
Yeah, basically what it does is it publishes your backend to server database to the client, and then the client can make database queries without coming back to the server.
Yeah,
Which-
you're asking how it's stored.
They literally have a library called Mini Mongo, and it runs. Sorry?
It's their own specs for it.
Yeah, well, it works exactly like Mongo.
Okay.
Same queries. Yeah.
So it's a concept for that.
Yeah. So you can see here, I create a Mongo collection called hits. You'll notice I don't use the var keyword because you won't pull in your entire app. So you only have to define it once. The button's clicked. I just insert a timestamp just to add a record. That could be any Mongo object that you want. And here I'm returning the number of hits. So if we go back to Meteor and start it up.
Now we've replaced the session storage with database storage.
Yeah, which will, in theory, work cross-browser. So you press the button 0 times. 1, 2. Hold on, let's refresh that. There we go, 2. Click that. And then even across here, you can see it update in real time. Okay. So that's reactive data sources in a nutshell, which is basically the most awesome part of Meteor in my mind. Okay, any questions before we move on from that?
Yes. Is there a way to filter what attributes on your data set get transferred across, or is it just
Absolutely. Yeah. So initially what I thought is like, okay, that's cool. It sends the database to the client. What about like my username and passwords, or the API keys is stored in my database, whatever. In development mode, Meteor will send all your data to the browser just so you can start hacking and put stuff together. Then later when you want to secure it, you do what's called a pub sub model, publish and subscribe. So you publish certain key or certain data from the server and subscribe to it on the client saying, only give me this information. So only stuff that the server sends to the client can be readable. So even if it was just a couple records, but in those records, only a certain few fields. So minus the username and password, for example.
How many people want a beer? I'm just gonna grab some beer.
Everybody.
When you made changes to the template, you restarted the Meteor server. But I heard that you could send like code pushes down to the client.
Yes, you can. I was actually turning it off when I was changing the Mongo collection. As you're changing your code and saving files, Meteor will constantly refresh itself, but it also does what's called a live push to the browser. So if I make a change and someone's on my app, say I'm hosted on Heroku, and they're interacting with my web app, and I push a change with Heroku, they don't need to refresh their browser in order to receive that change. It'll live reload, or what they call a hot reload. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
So does Meteor implement like virtual DOMs or like how React does to do those pushes?
It does. They call it DDP. It's like their own protocol, and that's actually a little over what I've learned so thus far. I've only been playing with Meteor for like a month, so I'm like, yeah. All right. Back at it. Huh? Oh, we were figuring out some. We were talking about like push and whatnot. Okay. Do you want to go over packages?
Sure, yeah.
Thank
So packages are a great way to build shit fast. Thanks, Adam. So Atmosphere.js is sort of the de facto package repository for Meteor packages.
Yes, it's like NPM for Meteor.
Yeah. Meteor has several built-in packages. They don't come with Meteor when you go Meteor create, but you go Meteor add, and then you can add on any number of packages in the command line. So user accounts, I'll stand up, and login. it's really cool. You can roll a login system just by going Meteor accounts add, and then you add accounts login. I just ran up and down the stairs. And then really a package in Meteor is a bundle of JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. So what's cool is packages include HTML, they can include styling, and they can include the logic that comes with that template. So you saw we created a template, we attached some JavaScript events to it. Packages can have any number of those things. So by going Meteor add accounts login, you literally add like the ability to add a login interface, complete with a Mongo collection for your users, recover passwords, the whole nine.
Yeah, it does like URL validation for you and everything. You just go like if user logged in and it's all good to go.
It's neat that I guess I keep pushing this one, but it's neat that the packages include HTML, CSS, and JavaScript because it's
actually
more complete.
A good example of that is, does everybody know what Bootstrap is? If you're hacking on like a project and you want to use Bootstrap as the core, instead of like downloading that and trying to modify the CSS and JavaScript to put it into your project in Meteor, you can just go Meteor add Bootstrap and it'll grab the latest Bootstrap and inject it into a package. And now you have that whole JavaScript and CSS framework available.
And you don't have to go into your HTML and be like script src equals bootstrap.js. It's just there.
Yeah.
Do they handle updating of the packages as well as implement that, or is it just done through the web?
Done through Meteor for their packages, and they will happen automatically, but they won't update automatically. So when you start Meteor, it'll say there's a new version. Do you want to update?
It's
Yeah.
Do they hold images and like resources and things like that too?
Yeah, they can.
The packages, yeah.
So
next
underscore
up?
comes built in to Meteor. You don't actually have to go Meteor add underscore. It's built in, and so is jQuery.
Yeah.
So Iron Router is a package that's great for managing URLs. It'd be similar to, how many people have used Angular? Right. Let's take a PHP framework, like Cake or
Cake, that's like from 1990.
yeah. What's that?
I was gonna say, well, you talk about coding man too.
Okay, like
Slim.
okay, yeah, Laravel. That's a good example.
Laravel, yeah.
So there's always a routing system where you're establishing routes and things. Iron Router is a routing system
For me.
JavaScript on the
Yeah.
client.
And my next demo is actually using Iron Router, so you'll get a gist of it.
And so I've already gone over the last one. We're good.
You want me to go over that? Okay. So actually, we kind of touched on this lightly with your question, but security and scaling. So the auto-publish and insecure packages are installed by default. What that does is auto-publish will always send your entire database collection to the browser all the time. That's obviously insecure in a live production, but when you're hacking your app, you don't want to have to worry about like, just get this data to the browser so I can work on the front end. So when you go live, you'd install auto-publish, and then you have to manage the publish-subscribe relationship in order to make that work. Again, I'll go through that. Insecure means you can do database updates from the client. So in the browser, if I open the console, I could go like db insert whatever the hell I want and actually run it. When you remove the insecure package, that doesn't anymore. Again, it's if you have an app running, instead of going to Mongo and terminal, you can just open up in your browser, make changes, and see it happen live. All my notes are, I already went through all that. Using functions, cool. Next slide. Okay, the directory structures can help. So you saw in my first demo there, it said Meteor is client and Meteor is server with the code blocks wrapped in there. That's obviously ugly as hell. You wouldn't want to write a full-blown app in that inside those two blocks. So what you can do is you can have specific directories. So the client directory, anything HTML or JavaScript in there will only be sent to the browser. Same on the server side, except it's only run on the server. The library directory, anything in there is always run first. So if you have like helpers that need to be accessible on both ends of it, or one or the other, still you want them to run first.
Database stuff is good to put in the library.
Yeah, that's a good one. But it's always run first, and it's available on client and server. And any file named main, so like main.js, is loaded after everything. So like, let's say that's the start of your app, and you need to make sure that everything's been set up. You call it main.js. So the managing packages, quick example of what it would look like in terminal. So you just go Meteor remove, insecure, and auto-publish, and you're good to go. Meteor install accounts UI, accounts password.
What is it think it's add.
It could be ad.
Yeah.
Whoops.
That's a meteor ad.
Yes. Whatever. You type install and be like, oops, ads. Anyway, you'll see the second one is meter ads, iron, colon, router. The difference between the middle one there is anything that doesn't have a colon like that is a default meter package, which is managed by them. The iron colon router is something installed from Atmosphere. So what it is username and the package. The reason they do that is the problem you have on NPM, where everybody tries to use the same package name. You can never figure out what the hell it is, you know?
That's not a problem.
Oh, it isn't?
No.
What did they do?
Last
Same concept?
Yeah, sort of.
Oh, shut up, Brandon. All right, time for another demo. Now it's time to grab another beer because this one's slightly. Okay.
Is everyone following the fire?
Any more questions or anything? We're moving too fast? No? Okay. So with this one, I thought we'd write a simple, not a blog, but great post, see them happen, and then use Iron Router to go to that post's route and see the actual post.
Blog-like.
It's blog-like, but it's the shittiest blog that ever existed.
At least it's not a new app.
Yeah, I thought about it, and I was like,
We're really gonna write it to do
I'm like, are we actually gonna do it to do that? So let's just wipe this slate clean. Boom, go away. All right, so the first thing that we want to add is the collection save. So lib collections.js. What
you just did?
So blog obviously means posts. So we'll go post new mongo.collection posts. Hooray. Done. We'll go client. So we want the main page where we come and enter the form. So we'll call it main.html. Template name. So let's make just a simple form. So we'll go form input type equals text, name equals title, text area, name equals content. Now you see what you did?
I'm gonna fix the VR issue there.
Oh shit. No. Oh yeah. Actually, what's interesting is Meteor would have crashed and told me that my HTML is not correct. Okay. So that's it. Let's make it do something.
So are these HTML? Yeah.
Yeah.
HTML or the XHTML templates?
HTML5.
Yeah.
Okay.
HTML, XHTML, same shit, really.
No.
Anyways.
HTML5. I'm happy
Okay.
with that.
All right, main.js. So you can name this whatever the hell you want. Like you could be like, you know, array.js. It doesn't matter because it's all loaded and sent to the browser at once. I'm gonna rename that because it's pissing me off. I don't like that. It's
Yeah, I like to name my JavaScript files the same as the
template that it's talking to.
Yeah.
So yeah, then it makes sense. So we go template. Template.main.events. So I want to capture the form event here and create record in the database. So I'm just going to go submit form. Function.
And you could replace form with like a class or an ID. Anything you do in jQuery.
Yeah, I'll prevent the default so it doesn't actually submit the form. And then we'll create the record. So let's title target.title.value. That's just getting the title field value. Does everybody follow that?
Okay. Up at the top of the function, it passes in the event and the template.
Yeah.
You haven't put an argument for the template. So what he's saying is the event.target, whatever was clicked on.
Yeah.
You'll also need the what?
Or sorry, not clicked on.
Oh.
The submit is the event here. So the target of the submit event is the form.
Yeah, and that's how I'm getting the values.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I glazed over that. So we have our data. Now we can just insert it into the database. We'll go posts, insert data, and then we'll just give ourselves an alert.
So if you remember when he created the collection for posts.
You want me to go to that?
Yeah, sure. He didn't put the var keyword in front. I made it a global variable in Meteor. So
Yeah.
you can reference posts.
Yeah, here without
So you
like
reference
having to
it.
require it or something like that. And that's not standard Meteor practice. When I first read that, I was like, that's a no-no, but that's how you're supposed to do it in Meteor. So,
Yeah.
um,
And the reason that's how you're supposed to do it in Meteor is because Meteor actually wraps every template in its own self-executing function. So it creates a namespace for each template.
yeah.
Does it pass like the document reference or like the window reference into those? So like, could you do, instead of just doing posts with no var, could you do like window.posts?
I think so.
You can reference the window. I'm not sure if you can do that though. I'm not exactly sure.
I'm almost sure the window and documents aren't available unless you.
But that's running on client side. The client code has everything that a regular JavaScript have. Like you could go like window.location equals blah blah blah, and
Oh, that's true.
they'd be
No, you're right,
redirected.
you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not
Okay.
sure if your instance would work though. Sorry. Anyway, so
So it's important to mention, I don't know if we want to mention it here exactly, but when he's saying template.main events, that submit on that form, this function will only execute when submitting a form in the main template. So if you have multiple templates on the same
yeah, if I
page,
had like template
it's
name,
it's scope specific.
name,
And you had another.
if you had a form in here and submitted that one, nothing would be run because this is only defined for main.
So now to the actual event, or to the callback, the event has the first parameter and then template is the second.
Yeah.
And then so I assume the scope of like this, is that the DOM element?
This
Like
is
what's
the Meteor template object.
Yeah. In the context of that template.
Yeah, the Meteor
Context,
template
yeah.
object has all kinds of extra functions on it, things that you can use.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll run this and we can see it work. So if I go Meteor. Hopefully I didn't have any mistakes in it. It'll load. No, yay. So we'll refresh that. Oh, I was like, wait a minute, why is it not working? I wanted to show Iron Router, so that's the part I forgot. Meteor, add Iron Router, just like we did in that example you saw. Come on, Iron Router. Hooray, install.
It shows the dependencies that it also installed,
Yes.
which is helpful.
So let's create a route quickly. Lib route set.js. So I won't go into the syntax of Iron Router, but it's basically just gives you this router object to work with, and you can define routes in it like that. So I have slash obviously being the index. Now name here is important. It's not only the route name that I can use to create links to that route specifically, but if the name matches the template, when someone visits that route, that template is loaded automatically. So when I visit, it sees there's a name called main. It's going to scan all my templates and be like, is there a template named main? If there is, load it automatically. So by just doing that, it's done. Like my route's loaded. That should be refreshed. Give it a sec. Boom. There you go.
Did you like design your site around these templates?
You can still design your site the way you normally would, but then you just break it up into templates. So if you imagined it as a traditional app where you have like a post page or blog, you'd still have the post template and just wrap it in a template.name equals post and put all your styling and HTML in there.
You might have like a parent template that is called layout. So you'd have a file called layout, and then you have the post template inside the layout template.
Yeah.
But they could have separate logic that's.
Yeah, you can get pretty advanced with like adding a hierarchy of templates. I won't go into that because it's very boring. Anyways, so we'll try this. My first array.
Did you do an each to output posts?
In each? Oh no, I haven't yet. I was going to show
okay.
that. So I'm going to go boom, done. Now, if we go into.
So that's in the database on the client side and the server side.
Yeah, I was just gonna show that.
Okay.
So if I go to posts, find, count, boom, one in there. So I go post.find one. You can see my page, post and array. So that's client side. If I actually go into Meteor Mongo,
So do you have to explicitly, because you didn't actually set the form,
yeah,
do you have to explicitly use the jQuery things to clear the form field?
yeah, clear the fields you do. Yeah. So if I go show collections, you can see I have posts there. db.posts.find one. Oh man. Post.find one. Okay. You can see it's in the actual backend server database as well.
Oh, and that Meteor Mongo, because Meteor creates its own little server you run locally, it also installs its own little Mongo. So this is not the Mongo that you're already running on your computer. Like Meteor Mongo and Mongo are different.
Well, just the install is, you can hook
Yeah,
up
exactly.
real Mongo and when you deploy on or whatever, it's all just Mongo. Like it's not any special
So what I
subset.
mean is like, you just go Mongo and you start inserting records.
Yeah, it won't be there.
Sure,
You gotta go
figure it
Meteor
out, 'cause it's
Mongo,
gotta be
and that's how you
Meteor
access it.
Mongo.
Yeah.
So is it actually running real Mongo
Yeah.
behind the scenes, or is it running mini Mongo?
Yeah, it's Meteor
it's
runs
re-
Node, so it's Node in the back end with Mongo.
Yeah, it's actually running Mongo. So we've created posts. Hooray! Let's make a list of them and make them accessible. So to do that, on the main, we're just going to list them below here. Show you that. Although I'm sure you know, but we'll go list posts. Template main. What else?
You can put that in a separate file if you want, but
Yeah.
just for demo purposes.
Yeah, I won't. And here I'll just go each posts. And then inside that will be the context of whatever the variable is. So it'd be the post title, right?
Does that make sense what you just did there? The title?
Okay. So
Is there, like, is the scope within the each just restricted to the post, or can you, like, outside, like,
yeah, it's
is it like a little closure type thing?
yeah, you can access the parent. So like if I had something wrapped inside of that each, the context would go down the chain.
Okay.
Yeah, and you do that by going .. slash in front of title to access, like, say you had
Okay.
two eaches there,
Yep.
you'd go ..
So that's
slash.
quite similar to like handlebars and mustache.
Yeah, it's in, like actually built off of handlebars, but they just did a bit to work more the way Meteor does. Yeah, it's about the same. Okay, so the only thing that needs to be defined here then is that posts, because that's not being retrieved from anywhere, we need to make a template helper so that when posts is called, it's going to get that data.
So
So
you
if
guys remember helpers from the last demo?
Yep.
The,
okay,
Template.listPosts.
yes.
exactly. So I'll just put it in main.js because it's all in that same file. So it'd be template.main list posts.helpers. And then it's called posts. I don't need to put it there. Return, and then anything you want your helpers to return, you just send it back. Obviously, in this case, I want it to be the posts. So go post.find.
And
Boom.
is a, since it's the database, it's a reactive data store. So now if
Yeah.
another post gets inserted, you don't have to reload the page for the list update.
It's like that.
And if you could do it in console too.
They know it works. I don't
Yeah,
need to do
okay.
that.
It's magic! Go from the magic!
Okay, so we're able to create posts. We're able to list them. Now let's make a URL to actually access. The
Hold on.
post
So
itself.
if you were to use like the command line, not the CLI from the browser, but actual.
Yeah, let's go into the terminal.
Okay.
And do like Meteor Mongo. That'll update in the browser.
Yes, sir.
Record.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm doing it. We're getting crazy. Here on and set it high. All right. Alex is a believer. Okay. So So we'll go back to routes, and we're going to find a route to be able to access each of those posts as an individual post. So go route / and then we'll just use Mongo ID. This could be anything you want, like, you know, any variable is going to call it an ID because that's what Mongo uses. Name, and we'll call this just post. So if I go here and go post HTML, plate name equals title. There you go. Now, what I could do here in order to get the title and content is I would typically think, oh, let's make a helper, right? How else am I going to get the data into that template? The beauty of Iron Router is if you have example like this where the data is always going to be available on that page before it loads, you need it as it's rendered. Iron Router allows you to specify data to be sent to it as it loads. Instead of putting it in a helper file, you put it in the route. I'll show you that now. So we'd go data function return post.find1.
I think you need to put that in an object first, don't you? And post.
What?
Name? No?
No.
Oh.
What I'm saying here is for the data for the router, I'm just returning the post associated with that ID, which will have the context of title and content. Does that make sense to everybody? Like, you kind of get that? Yeah.
So you can put an object. What I was saying is that return, you could actually return a series of
Yeah, I mean, I could
values.
make it, you know, the post, and then that would break it. And in here, I would have to go the post.title, right? But I mean, if I just want the post object, obviously I would just return that.
Right.
But that makes sense then, like what Sean was talking about? Okay. So let's try that out quick. So we have the route, it's going to return it. Now we'll set up a link. Iron Router also has some handlebars methods that they install with their package, which allows you to use that name that I was talking about to automatically build the routes. So go back to the name, main template.
Built-in helper.
Okay, graph path 4, and then the template name, so post, and then the variable that I need to send along it, which is the argument.
So that's going to call the post route, and it's going to fill the argument in the post route with the ID.
Yeah, this
that belongs to
context.
each post there.
Yeah, like you can see, it's the context of the post that I'm looping through in that each block. So go to the bottom there, all of those have their IDs. Well, why does that one say object something?
Oh, because you did that one in.
Oh, I did it manually. Foiled by Alex.
Yeah. So there's that's one of the Meteor gotchas, is that their Mongo doesn't wrap IDs in an object ID, and I did some research on that, and the performance gain by wrapping in an object ID is sort of negligible, so they left it out for simplicity in dealing with route and things like that.
Yeah. I didn't know that would happen. That was a good lesson.
That happened to me.
Oh, did you?
I was
Oh,
like,
nice.
oh God, why isn't it working?
Okay, so we click this, boom, my posts. Hooray, it's injecting the data automatically. So if you've worked with any other framework where like you have to do these queries and send it to the browser, you know, to accomplish what we just did was insanely easy in comparison to pretty much anything else you might have used. So in my opinion, that's one of the most exciting things about Meteor. It's hard to grasp it all at once, so I'm sure all of you are just kind of like, I don't know what the fuck it's talking about. It's kind of neat. But if you go to meteor.com after and go through the tutorial either tonight or tomorrow at some point, it takes you through a little more slowly with a lot of wording, and you kind of grasp those concepts. And you'll kind of get like the power behind it. Yeah, anyway, so that was my example there. I was going to go into the publish and subscribe. I don't know if you guys want me to, the security aspect of it. If you're going to go into the tutorial, it would teach you anyway. So maybe I'll glaze over that. At least I got to show you the routes. So, actually, we don't have much left before we get to show off our game that we made in Meteor, and everybody gets to play it. Did everybody bring laptops? Most of you? Yes.
A laptop? Oh. So fast.
Okay. So I'll finish up quick. We only have a few more slides. Oh, what?
Oh, no, I'm just kidding, dude.
Oh, you're distracting me. Okay. So deploying, you can use Meteor for free. So once you have your Meteor app, like the blog we just made, I can actually show if you want.
Yeah, might as
whatever. Should I show?
Yeah.
Okay. You just do Meteor deploy of your app. As long as it's not used by someone else, it'll just deploy it to their servers. Now, it's good to show off to your friends in live examples. It sucks for production. They even say themselves, do not use this in production. It's just meant as a sandbox, right?
People do it though. I see them.
Like, stupid.
Hey, Meteor, whatever. And it's like meteor.com.
Yeah.
Because they didn't realize the implications.
Yeah.
The product kind will send generous amounts of traffic.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a blog example there. Let's go Meteor deploy club blog.meteor.com.
By the way, I have to talk to login.
Alex is the logging king.
Yes, he is.
I'm the log driver.
The chief logger. Yeah.
Chief logger, I like that. We need to get you a chief logger shirt.
We ran into an instance where we were reporting too much to Heroku. We were actually getting logplex errors back.
Oh, you shouldn't get, yeah, if you're tilling,
Type everything into paper trail.
Sorry, it doesn't usually take this long to deploy.
It's easy.
Are you connected
super
on-
expensive internet there. So.
Yeah. I'll come back to that. Well, I finished the slides. How about that? Instead of us staring at a screen. So yeah, you do Meteor deploy, whatever you want to call it, .meteor.com. Cool, show your friends. Deploying on Heroku, which is the real way to actually do it. I mean, you can do it on EC2 or some other boring server. Heroku makes it painfully easy. Basically, you install it just as any other app. If you write a Node package or a Python package, it's still git push Heroku master. The only exception is you first have to enable the Meteor build pack because it's not officially supported by Heroku yet. But that GitHub URL down there, you don't have to write it down. If you just Google Meteor GitHub build pack, it'll be the first result, and they show you how to set it up. And then it's just git push Heroku master, and you're up and ready to go. To show that, we have a game that everybody can play. It's troutslap.herokuapp.com, and it's built purely in Meteor. You can find source code at GitHub Geek for Brains.
You should show them the source code on here.
I should show them source code, but first, everybody should go and trout slap each other.
Wait for like 5 seconds. I'm waking up to that.
Oh, sorry, it's a free dino.
Oh, right. We're waking up with that.
All right. Everyone's down.
you should have told me. I could have pre-warmed it.
Yeah.
Heroku app.
Give the dino a hug.
Warm it up. Okay, where is the sign in? Why so slow? Come on. Oh, there we go. So I'm already logged in. If you don't have an account, create one. You should obviously all be doing this. I'm going to create a new game, which means I'll be ending.
Can you delete that one between Stephanie and I that's been there for days?
No, I can't.
Oh.
I didn't write the logic to automatically clear them. It only clears them if it's game over.
Oh.
Brandon joined me. Perfect. So you can see it's his turn. So Brandon, on the left is health, and on the right is attacks. And you have gems to spend to issue commands. So when Brandon finishes his turn, it'll be my turn. Boom. So you can see in real time, like, without the browser refreshing, we're able to play each other here.
So just to explain this interface, Gavin has 5 gems.
Yeah.
He can either choose to spend 1 gem or 3 gems or 8 gems
And get
to do
health.
these things.
Yeah. Or
which
on the
will
right-hand
boost his
side.
health this much.
Yeah.
Or he can spend gems to attack Brandon.
So let's give Brandon a wedgie. Boom. And slap him with a trout. And I don't need to manage myself, so let's slap him with another trout. And I'll end my turn. Boom. So now it goes back to Brandon. See, anything he does will affect me in real time. Boom.
Oh, 2 slaps.
Oh, whoa! Oh, I found some gems.
Oh, we got the random
Bastard.
gems.
The random gems.
Oh, and you bandage some wounds.
Yes. All right, how many have I got here?
You get 2 gems every turn.
Yeah, it replenishes. I'm gonna bandage and save that gem for my next turn. I wrote this, but I lose every single game. I don't think I've won one. Sean beat me every time. I'm like, what the fuck?
I need a little down.
Drop kick to the head. Yes.
Who's Jimbo?
Jimbo? That's not me.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it actually works on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, we didn't even try it. Yes, you're saying bootstrap.
So, speaking about mobile phones, you saw Meteor.is client and Media.is server. It also has Meteor.is Cordova, and it literally will bundle it as a native iOS app or Android just by using the Cordova.
I lost. I'm the worst at this game.
So
yeah, if you want to check out the source code for that, it's like I said, Geek for Brains /Troutslap. It's not overly complicated. You could probably go through it and get an idea of what's going on. But I wrote that in 2 days, kind of in between doing client work, so you can see it can take a whole lot to get something working real time out of the box. And
originally we were going to build that game together tonight.
Yeah, and I was like, we're going to sit down and write a game. Everybody,
that's going to take a
20 minutes in, they're going to be like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Okay, so to wrap up, closing thoughts. Go through the tutorial on Meteor.com. It is absolutely excellent. Unfortunately, it does build a to-do list, which is hella boring, but easy to understand. The Discover Meteor book is fantastic. I bought it. They have a digital copy that you can PDF or read on their site.
It's basically a bunch of tutorials, like 20 tutorials.
Yeah, it gets quite advanced though. It starts off really easy and it gets quite deep, and it's awesome. It's what I used to learn. RTFM. Basically, anything you have questions about is probably in the docs.meteor.com. If you try to look on Stack Exchange or Stack Overflow, they're usually outdated or the wrong way to do it, because a year ago, Meteor was changing so rapidly that there was like, it's like, oh, do it this way. Then a month later, it's like, no, you don't do that way anymore. So now that 1.0 is out, their documentation is fantastic. Try to reference that first, and then if you don't get it, then start Googling. That's been my experience, because I would get turned around, I'd Google something, and be like, oh, that's how you do it. Then it didn't work. I'm like, the hell, so anyway, the docs are your friend. We didn't even touch on the mobile functionality, which actually Sean just went over, the Cordova stuff. The tutorial actually shows how to install that to-do app that you build on your own, and I went through and did it. It's crazy easy. Yeah, thanks. So I also contacted the guys at Discover, and they gave us an off. So if you actually do think you want to buy that book, just copy down that URL, and you'll get 20% off the purchase price. They're nice enough to give us
Go for upgrades as well.
upgrades.
To the book.
Oh, it might. Oh, do you already have it?
Yeah.
Oh, too bad. I'm not sure. Maybe.
Yeah, we could try. I'm sure it's just a coupon code.
Yeah. I also looked up what that means, per seeds or per size, and it's the meteor with yeah, it's like with the tails and stuff. I was like, what the hell does that mean? Anyway,
Cool.
not
Like everyone is.
Oh, it is. Okay, I didn't know when it was.
Isn't that the one that we went to?
Oh, Sugarloaf.
Yeah.
You're right. It was. I didn't know it was called that. Okay. Yeah.
You mentioned you've only used Meteor for like a few months or.
Not even a few months. Yeah.
So
Less
that's
than
one.
Yeah.
Have you used it like?
Yeah,
for a
about the
while?
same amount of time. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I
yeah.
use the earlier version to pain and struggle.
No, we didn't.
Or any like backwards compatible stuff.
No, fortunately not.
Yeah.
Actually, when I first heard about it on Hacker News, I dabbled with it, but it was really early, and I was like, oh, neat. Okay, back to work.
Yeah, I found that with React. I've been using it, but it's always like, okay, now I gotta do this. And
Yeah.
Change
Yeah,
terminology.
it's very rapid. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
kind
great.
of slowed down though since it was 1.0. Like now they're kind of doing like slowly larger updates. Their documentation doesn't change as rapidly.
Yeah.
So now with you guys, is Quote Robot, is that like written on the Meteor? Or?
No, that's
None of our production products are yet.
Okay.
No, we just started.
That was a question. How was it in production?
Yeah. So
Performance-wise?
we wrote Pistachio in Angular, and launched the Angular version at the beginning of March, and then promptly looked for something new to write stuff in. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I don't like Angular personally. It's like, I know it's a big thing, but it's like, for me, it was, I don't know, it was a bit of a mess to do stuff that you wanted to.
Yeah, you like texted me, oh my God, you have to try Meteor.
Yeah.
You know?
Down with React, up with Meteor.
Yeah.
That was it.
So.
I can see how this, like Meteor would be fabulous for doing client work because you can prototype something really fast.
Yeah, it's very
You don't
Rails
have-
that way.
You don't have to worry about like locking it down and like, you know, doing that. You can prototype real quick, show the client something that's working, get them happy, and then spend the time getting it like secure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, with that auto publish and
Yeah.
secure stuff. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
if they do happen to want iPhone or Android app,
Yeah.
you can do it as well.
It feels very Rails, actually, like the
Yeah.
whole package manager and everything. It
Yeah.
feels like,
Now you can deploy using Cordova, which is to Android as well as BlackBerry. What about iOS?
Yeah,
it
it'll
has
do,
iOS.
I
Does
put
Cordova
the,
do
yeah,
iOS then? Okay.
Yeah.
the Meteor tutorial on their site does that to-do list and show you how to install it with Cordova, and I put it on my phone.
So then
It
it would
worked
be
great.
connecting to some remote Mongo device then.
No, they have like, I think it installs their mini Mongo and does it inside the Cordova app itself. It doesn't leave the phone.
So you build like the local app.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
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 yeah, you can connect remotely. There's,
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not required. Yeah.
That's cool.
Any other questions?
Test.
We can just like go over stuff, ask anything.
I was just wondering about like how well it performs on mobile devices, like processor wise.
It's not like native, obviously, you're never going to get that great, but I mean, for a business app, you'd never write a game in it because it'd be way too slow, but a business app where it's like, you know, take photo, add my notes, create this to-do list, fantastic, like it was fast. And easily enough that a client for their version would be impressed. You say, okay, we're going to write this, we can, you know, wrap the code we're currently using, so we're able to discount the project or whatever. They'd be stoked about that, and they have something in the App Store. Then they could come back and say, okay, you know, it's been a year or two, let's write this natively or something.
I use it as a prototype, like MVP mobile app, you know,
Yeah,
and
get
then,
it out.
and then like get a real thing done. And
Yeah.
Performance is
Objective-C.
always like pretty bad when you have to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's a lot better with iOS 8 and with
Yeah.
the new like Chrome separated the web view in Android now to its own thing where they can have.
Oh, I think someone wants in there.
Oh, did some
People trying to
people?
react natively.
Yeah.
They're like, I've been out here for an hour.
They missed the whole thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Unit tests, test frameworks.
Oh, is it like?
There is unit tests. I've never been much of a tester.
Yeah.
There is some though, but in Meteor, it's a giant clusterfuck right now. They actually rewrote this really fancy one by the guy that I think wrote the Discover Meteor book. It's called some. I haven't played with it, but it's apparently great. And have you ever played with Node test frameworks like Mocha, Chai, Jasmine? You can use Mocha, Chai, and Jasmine in this new testing framework. I haven't used it. So I don't test. I'm actually not sorry. I fucking hate testing.
We're loving it. Like, seriously.
Because I can pull up a tweet where you said you love testing.
Oh, that was in Mocha and Chai? Yes.
We we just started playing with Meteor like a month ago, and we're like obsessing over it. It just I don't know. Because originally when Alex said, "Hey, do you guys want to do a talk at Hack Club?" I was like, "Sure, we'll do Angular." And then like
I was like, no.
we started playing with Meteor, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, Meteor is amazing!" So to give you an idea, it took me like a few months to wrap my head around Angular and like start producing production quality code. But in Meteor, it was like days. I was like, okay, I'm ready. Like, let's do some client work.
Yeah. Well, actually, to put that in perspective, we have a client. The project is basically almost ready to launch. Sean and I have been writing Meteor for a month. Actually, Sean, a little less. So we've written this client app. I did these tutorials and wrote that game all within that time span of learning it and, you know, the development time of the two. So
yeah, you just pick it
that
up
kind of
so
speaks
fast.
volumes too. I mean, 6 months from now, I can probably write that game in an hour, realistically.
It seems pretty quick to pick up.
Yeah. To answer your question about QuoteRobot and Pistachio, though, is they're built on Python right now. I don't think we mentioned
Python,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used it.
robot?
Yeah. so-
Oh. I feel bad, man.
I was gonna open up a doc and.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not using Word.
Oh, glad you used it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so-
Nice.
The it needs some
I
love.
found
like,
some validation issues in the form.
Yeah, there's some.
It works for me.
That's
Yeah.
probably due to the
Yeah.
testing.
Yeah. If you haven't tested it.
No, it's we put up that version of Core Robot 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And like haven't touched it since.
I was the last person.
Yeah, Brandon.
Yeah, actually, I
was.
think yours is
That
still
was
the last
over a
commit.
year ago.
Yeah. And I just feel bad every time I get Core Robot support. I'm like, I know it sucks. Okay, there's something wrong.
I should have emailed for them.
Yeah. I'm like,
I
I
just-
make time, okay? As soon as I finish this stuff.
You guys mentioned in the first slide that there's issues with third-party JavaScript files.
Yep.
Bringing those in sometimes.
Yeah, it just depends. Like some files, I don't know if it runs JS lint, like it does, checks to make sure you're using proper syntax and things. So I don't know if some third-party libraries, their preprocessor just doesn't like it. But what you can do is just stick it in public and then reference it in your HTML template, just like you would any other JavaScript, like script src / and you don't have to go /public. It just knows that /.
Yeah.
Um,
Or you could host it on a CDN, which in production you should do anyway. So.
So, for example, Alex was asking about when you submit the form, it's not actually submitting, so you have to reset it.
Yeah, clear the form
The
field.
domo and reset.
Yeah.
Now, in that scope of that callback though, how do you access that domo?
Oh,
I'll show
it's
you.
jQuery.
Is it, but is it, is that the scope you're in at that point in the
Yep.
callback?
Yeah.
So, At the end
So is it
here,
like
I can just
it's
go.
dot reset?
It's e.target. So event, e.target would be the element. This references the template object.
But you also mentioned that a second parameter is passed to.
Yeah, so
callback, which is the template.
yeah, the template object also gets passed in. I am not 100% sure the difference between,
Yeah.
I think the little t is the template instance or something like that.
What do you?
Oh, so you've got event up there, you can also pass in template in your function.
And that's gonna be the instance of template name versus just.
And I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I thought this is the template. Like if I go.
yeah, so this
like
references the template object, yeah.
Yeah.
But T, you can also pass in the T. Just pass the template and then log it, we'll see what it is. I was just passing in because I know like one day I might want to do something with it.
Yeah, that's true. You mentioned that.
Yeah.
And the difference between that. I thought it was
But there should be event instead of E. The bottom.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's because I'm so used to writing actual E, but I renamed it so everybody knew who it was. Thank you. Oh wait, let's check that out quick.
Oh, yeah.
Hack Club blog.
What
Hack Club. Holy crap.
do you come up with
Club
the hardest idea?
blog.meteor.com. Say that 10 times fast. Slowest ever. Yay!
All right.
Hooray! Everybody gonna make a
Launch
post.
new blogging product.
Yeah, this will be
Yeah.
okay. So anyway, that's how easy it was to deploy to Meteor. And I could just anybody can access.
And it's
it.
almost that easy to deploy to Heroku.
It basically is. You have like one terminal line that goes like adds the build pack done.
Yeah.
So this example that I was going to show you, if I go here, terminal Meteor.
Oh, so this Carrie's got it up on hers. If Gavin makes a post and Carrie makes a post at the same time, it'll update Carrie's instantly too.
On the blog.
Yeah.
Crap. What's it called? Hack Club.
Hack Club blog.
Oh, not Heroku.
Yeah, let's all go there and like
Hack
add
Club.
something. 'Cause
Oh my God, this is the word. Club
There it is.
blog. Come here.
it's-
Oh, this is
Carry
before
on,
we
I don't
added.
see
This is before we added the list, though, isn't it? Look, there's no list showing up. Oh no, it is there.
It just took forever to render. Weird. Yeah, see?
Nice.
added-
Thanks. Oh, that was you.
Yeah.
Let me see the content. Like button. All right. Feel the love. Feel the love. Okay, screw all you. Let's go back in here. Okay, so I'm hosting that on the local, that change that we made. So get back into there. We're going to log it out and see what that template is. Console. What is going on here? Test.
So that's on the event, right?
Yeah.
Blaze a template instance. Okay, so we've got.
Let me clear this though, because after my alert, it was supposed to clear the fields. Yes.
So let's look in that template instance. All subscriptions are. Oh, okay, so it's actually the.
It's a template instance,
Yeah,
like the Blaze template. Blaze is Meteor's template renderer.
Blaze is like React.
Yeah.
So Meteor is a collection of separate libraries that the Meteor Foundation has created. Blaze being the front end library.
Yeah. If we actually go to meteor.com here, you can see they list them. How's your internet here? Sub-packages, sub-projects, I mean. So you can see here, Blaze, Tracker, DP, that was that WebSocket thing that someone had asked about that I don't know a whole lot
That's the
about.
cool thing about Meteor. It's not using post and get. It's actually running on WebSockets. So the data that's being from the server to the client and back is on a WebSocket.
By default, unless it doesn't support WebSockets, then it's smart enough to fall back to post.
I just actually, Matt just had a video that he gave at MIT or something like that. It was about DB interesting.
Cool.
The
Oh, really?
actual, you know,
Like he goes into
sort of-
detail about it?
Yeah.
I'll check that out.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And he's like a great presenter too.
Yeah, he's
not you guys aren't.
in
He's actually good at it.
Yeah, no, he's really good.
Cool. Awesome.
Is Meteor working IE8?
I think it does. They had a compatibility with this.
So like for WebSockets, does it just fall back?
Yeah, it'll fall back to using JavaScript and doing posts and gets behind the scenes. So,
We're still supporting 98. I thought that was like 5 years ago.
what version is it at? I actually don't even pay attention.
Yeah,
Is that 11?
Edge, I
Yeah.
isn't even a thing anymore.
Unfortunately, sometimes I have to support IE8.
I'm glad you got to put your foot down.
Yeah.
No,
I'll get rid of that.
fucking computer.
Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah.
Here's
I don't support stuff anymore.
So glad.
the tutorial that I was talking about there goes through like basically all the details plus more that we went to, including security and adding a user account system. But running on mobile, there you go. So you can go, the gist of it here is Meteor install the SDK for Android or iOS, and then you run iOS.
You Meteor adds platform iOS. It's insane.
Yeah, that's like you wrote your app, now run those commands, and it's on your phone.
Yeah, and then there's some configs and stuff you can do to like define your iOS.
Yeah, your like icon stuff, but yeah.
Would you use this for standing up a RESTful web service?
Yeah, you totally can.
You can. Iron Router has a way to only serve requests from servers, so that when you make a request, it doesn't involve the client code at all. So it's built exactly for that. So let's say you had a front end interface, but you use Stripe, and you need to receive Stripe webhooks to your system payment went through. You could set up an Iron Router server route, which would just receive the callbacks, much like Express would, like a Node app, exactly the same. Yeah. One thing that I haven't done that I'm experimenting with is being able to break off jobs into worker queues. Because if you know Heroku, you got web dynos and worker dynos. So being able to use queue, which is a JavaScript tool for running workers, using Meteor to those commands to queue. So that's something I'm working on.
It's possible because you can run.
Yeah, you're just sending it.
Packages natively.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just I haven't done it yet, but as soon as I figure that out, then I mean, there's
Does the
literally-
Meteor build pack install Node? Must.
Meteor, yeah,
Yeah.
it runs on
Yeah.
top of Node.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One gotcha that we've run into is because of the way that Meteor builds its HTML and CSS. We put a client project, the front end site, and then we made an admin panel in the same Meteor project.
Can we show the client project?
Yeah, might as well, yeah. We ran into an issue where it was building the CSS altogether. So like our front end CSS was overriding our admin CSS. And that just has to do with, all your assets and just mashing them together.
Yeah.
So what we ended up doing is moving all the assets into public and then referencing them in the HTML as you normally would in
So
any
you
other
just
app.
got sort
So
of
it's
extra
broken.
source.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't add
exactly.
settings.
Whereas normally you don't need to do SRC or like link href. You don't need to do that, but we were running into issues where it was,
What we should have done, now learning that, is when we design, if we had a front end like interface for the site and then an admin interface in the same project, would be to design the CSS around that. So you have like, you know, admin dash whatever would namespace the CSS and solve the
I
problem.
think our solution now though is to include the front end HTML in the project, and then to reference the admin HTML as a linkage.
So this is just the project so far. Like we haven't finished outputting the data, but the front end is
You can go song title.
and browse here.
So here we're using Iron Router to like.
Oh, there's nothing in there.
So this client is a basically he's got a database of hymn songs. He writes hymnals, and we wanted some like fake data to use in the database. So literally, I grabbed a paragraph from like the Bible.com or something, and then I had it randomly generate song titles using random
From the script.
And doesn't it look legit? It's like these look like hymns. You know?
They shall treat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The meditates wicked.
Shit. Anyway,
We're all
so
going
I
at
put
it.
10,000 records in the database just to like make sure that
And then you got like the
Meteor
modals.
can handle
Sean wrote
everything.
the fancy modal tool, which is
So if you're combining
it works.
website code and admin code in the same project and it's just going and stringing it all together in the browser,
Yeah.
couldn't I technically just open up the console and start looking at and inspecting your admin panels and
you could, but Iron Router lets me define each route that you go to, what you're subscribed to using the pub sub. And in order to get to those routes, you have to be logged in. Here has that account system. So it's no more than, say, writing it in Python, and you trying to go to like /admin and try to access those pages.
But what if you like did view source? Wouldn't you be able to see?
Like the JavaScript.
In your
Yeah.
source, there's essentially one link tag and one
Well, view source
to link at together.
So in this case, we're referencing
So you
the.
see all the new source.
So this is what Meteor does.
Oh my god. Development mode?
Yeah, it'll combine all of those.
Cool.
This is dev mode so that you can see them. So
Sort of zero.
in your example, like if we just went to the console instead of using actually see the HTML.
Yeah.
The HTML is only being populated with sensitive data when I allow it to be. So if you were to view the content and try to find all those templates, they'd all be empty, right? In order for you to get like say the admin information, you'd have to be on the admin and the publish and subscribe for that to be sent to the browser.
Okay, so when you do the publish subscribe stuff, it's like using the pub sub mechanisms to like stream HTML content to the browser when it's like.
Well, the pub sub stuff is data specifically.
Yeah, it doesn't send HTML. HTML would stay there, and the server will stream publish the information.
But
and then
the
update
HTML are basically templates.
Yeah, exactly.
So I could inspect and like figure out like what your templates are doing, but the data would be.
Yeah, there's nothing
here.
there. Yeah, exactly.
Let's say all your backend like assets, those would also be served like JavaScript as well as CSS images.
Yes, yeah. You don't have to do it that way. You can manually load them from packages if you want to secure like the avatars that you use or something. Yeah, you can do that if you want to.
Yeah, all the static assets are served like in a similar way that any other site is. You know, images, CSS, HTML. So what I like about Meteor is that you're not writing some other language. You're like legitimately just making HTML and CSS files, which is nice. I mean, I write less, but still.
Do you change? Oh, there we go. So if I go into admin, you can see there, if I was trying to access it, it just keeps asking me to log in. Now this is all running in the same code base. Then that's all Meteor 2. So, you just browse around. Same thing. And then real-time searching streams. That real-time search was literally like Meteor add, forget the package name, and then I just hooked up that input field to the little value that they gave me. It's like some keyword, and then boom, that was done. It did the rest for me. So the packages that are on Atmosphere will save you a ton of time for the most part. Yes, anyway, that's an example of a live app.
Well, it's not live yet.
Well, I mean, it's ready to go live pretty much. Yeah.
Now comes the hard part, getting client data.
Yeah.
Client
feeling
content, yeah.
They're actually pretty good. You should see this
It's
novel
super
that they wrote
organized,
us,
man.
man. Cool. Any other questions? No, we're good? Awesome.
Let's just hang
Thanks.
out. Drink beer.
Yes,
Sounds
thanks very much.